Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my name is Michelle Stone.
And I'm Jenna Rose.
And we are with the Underground Music Collective. We are here today for another segment of fun and games. We are joined by the Blue Trees. Yeah.
Good to be here.
We're drinking some wine for our Wine and Wine segment that is sponsored by our friends at City Winery. We want to thank you guys so much for that. Jenny, you want to tell them about the bottle that you're about to open by City Winery?
It's time to get drunk.
Oh, yeah.
So we are, we are drinking the Sauvignon Blanc. And I've got some notes on it here.
It's always good to start with the white wine when you ease into it. So
Sauvignon.
for those who wanted to know
It'd
that.
be an interesting taste for
I
the
don't
palate,
have- oh,
too,
is it in
considering
the-
I just ate a cookie and ate salsa.
Yeah, we also have food for our artists, so they can sample it with the wine. Which either way, it's gonna be good because
I always like a good pairing.
So
So the Sauvignon Blanc is a slow and steady fermentation of 100% stainless steel. And it is bursting with bright candied grapefruit. That stainless steel fermentation ensures a clean and crisp finish on the wine. Has slight hints of vanilla, and it's undeniably refreshing.
if I had a mustache, if I had one, I'd be twirling it right now.
I can do this.
Like a little Wario.
Oh, if you have a mustache, you better be twirling it right now
I can
as she's
twirl my
talking.
beard.
You guys would pass down your glasses. I'll
Yeah,
get some
so
poured for you.
just a reminder that City Winery is not just a winery. They also are a bar, a venue. You can book your shows there, your events, and you can also eat and drink and all that good stuff. So yeah, thank you guys again for sponsoring this. So guys, while you're getting your wine poured, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself by name and let everyone know who you are individually.
Go ahead.
Sequentially.
Let me get my whistle wet.
I'm James Cody here, lead guitar player of the Blue Trees.
I am Jacob Needham, the front man and acoustic guitar player for the Blue Trees.
I'm Chris Ryan, the bassist of the Blue Trees. And I definitely need some Visco.
Sauvignon.
Yeah, guys. So
Sauvignon.
the Blue Trees came on our radar about, what would you say, Jenna? Like probably 2-3 months ago. Maybe a little bit
more, like,
longer. My
it was in
concept of
November,
time
right?
is like a dog. I really don't
Especially 'cause of
understand it.
COVID.
Yeah,
It's
so,
all just
Crazy.
everywhere.
It's all everywhere. But we're actually not. We don't just know them as a band. We're actually friends with them as well. We hang out with them all the time. We're really close. We love their music. When we first heard them, me and Jen were like, "Holy crap! How have we not heard of this band?" So do you guys want to tell everyone kind of about how the Blue Trees started and how it came to be, and also how you got the name? Like, why not the purple trees or like the yellow trees?
There
Or...
is a point.
So yeah,
sure.
let's hear it.
So,
And cheers, by the way. Let's cheers.
Absolutely.
Do some of that.
Thank you guys.
Don't
for
you
having
wish you
us
were
on.
here?
Yeah.
Grab yourself a bottle. If you do have a City
Yes.
Winery bottle, grab that. But yeah, drink with
And if
us
you
and
don't,
talk with us
Run on down to the winery and get one.
right now. Well, not right now when the segment's
Right
over.
down the street.
So I guess to get to this story of how the Blue Trees formed, it was back in 2014. I had just started kind of doing music and dabbling in it. Released a single and was living in Birmingham, Alabama at the time, and put my single out. But I was just like, there's something. It was like my style then was like singer-songwriter. So it's definitely not what you hear now. And I was kind of like, man, like I really want to like kind of beef this up a little bit, like bring something else to what I was doing. So I got online, I was like looking around, and I came across old James over here on a Music's Classified. ad.
Music Classified. It's like when you search for someone, it's kind of like the modern day, like, Peter Criss found Kiss right back in the day. It was like a newspaper. This is digital.
I don't, but
Like
that sounds like
classified.
a story that you should share with me sometime.
Exactly.
So we linked up, and literally, I guess it was probably like, I don't know, maybe like a week later after we'd been talking, we got together. He comes over, and we were just going to write together. So James had this riff that he had been sitting on for a while, and
At least
I
3 years
just
before,
started
yeah.
writing to it, and it just came out so good and naturally. And the song was called "Draw Me In," and like from that point, me and James are like, "Holy crap! Like we got a chemistry here. Like there's something that's really good that could be an amazing musical thing that we have." So we started writing an acoustic album. We finished that, but we still were like, James came to the idea of like, hey, why don't we bring in some other people to
Building
start a
a
band?
band,
So we had a bass player and a drummer come in Birmingham that started working with us, and then we released a demo album and started pitching that around a little bit. Didn't really get anything to bite it, but we were still in that developmental sound stage, really getting our music
Yeah, like kind of getting your feet wet,
Yeah,
learning where
yeah.
you're going to be, who you're
I
going to
mean,
be.
every artist, you got to fill each other out. I mean,
Yeah. And you're still doing that. I mean, it's not like you guys ever
Oh.
stopped doing that, but you
No,
kind of got
absolutely.
an idea of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
road you want to go
Like
down.
we're
Absolutely.
constantly fine-tuning our genre, which spans many different influences.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
being able to write that first song in 10 minutes and it be pretty much almost done, 3
Yeah.
minutes, verse,
It's a
chorus.
pretty good
verse,
omen.
Yeah.
It felt good and it was right.
So you mentioned you had another bass player, which I assume by the context of that you don't mean that you had Chris. So how did
It
he
was
come
not
on?
Chris. It was actually really funny about him. He was actually best friends with my aunt growing up, and I had no idea.
He says aunt, not aunt.
And we were standing out. That's that Alabama.
I know.
There's no
I-
coincidences.
I-
with
I'm
it.
from
There's
Nashville,
none.
and I
No
say aunt.
coincidence.
But you want to know the weirdest fucking coincidence of it all? Is that we were filling out a form to submit our demo album to get everything done, like government-wise and set up to release. James was sitting there at the computer. He said, "What's your birthday?" I said, "October 29th." James
Like,
said, "Shut the fuck up."
get
I
outta here.
said, "What?" He's like, "October 29th." I said, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "Pull your ID out." I showed him my ID, October 29th. So me and James actually have the same exact
Then I
birthday.
pull mine out. It's like, look at this.
It was
It's
wild.
2 years apart.
It was a really
Are you
weird
separated? Oh, 2 years apart.
2
Dang
years
it.
apart,
There goes
yeah,
my
Same
theory.
day.
I mean, I've
So-
never.
Yeah.
really weird.
Can you imagine? That's like a telenovela, like separated at birth, and you also happen to be married to my cousin, who is also happened to be my daughter,
It's like,
who has a
Oh,
yacht
yeah.
that
it's
just
like,
sunk.
are you guys brothers?
We
Like,
Well, there's
have,
something
yeah.
to that. I mean, you know, if you
Yeah.
believe in
There's like
astrology and all that.
So how'd he come on? Like,
So we had moved up to Nashville, and I guess we'd
Comes
been
out
up here
a
for
little
about a
bit
year.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
we were getting ready.
Uh-huh.
We had just actually released our debut album in 2018, Procrastinated Memoirs. And at the time, the best
he just says that in Procrastinated Memoirs.
Procrastinated Memoirs.
All in one word.
It's
It's a long
that's a
title.
long story too behind that album name. But anyways, we had moved up here, and our bass player, he was at the time was a little bit older, so he didn't really want to have to relocate to Nashville. And James was teaching at Belmont and ended up meeting Chris. And Chris came in and started playing with us, and we were like, "Holy shit, you're our missing link and our savior! Come on in."
He was actually my
So-
assistant professor
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be
for
exact.
demo production. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I knew he played keys initially. I remember when I saw him play for the first time.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
That's
the
kind of what
five-
you do. You gotta go through the vetting process. Right? This guy's playing keys on stage. I'm like, okay, this guy can play. He knows what he's doing, and he bought me a beer when I showed up. Right?
Oh,
You do
so
that, you get that respect level.
doing
It's like,
everything
You
okay,
hear that,
I'm
guys? To
calling
get
you
his
back.
respect level, just buy him
Buy him
a
a
beer.
beer.
Buy him a beer. So you were an assistant professor. So basically, you did all the professor did, except you did all the work.
No, I
Is
did.
that-
I was,
is
at the
that how that
time, I was.
works? 'Cause I was a teacher's assistant, and like,
Well, that's at
actually,
the
no one
time-
knows that. Never
at
mind.
the time, I was getting just my master's there, and I was TAing before I started
Oh.
teaching. Yeah, he was
Oh.
in one of the classes, and sure enough,
That's super cool. So, I guess to dive in a little bit more about you guys individually, tell us kind of how you all started playing in general music, not just as a band, but like tell us, like, you can start with you, Chris. Like, where did you come from bass? What all do you play also besides bass?
So I grew up playing piano most of my life. Played that from.
Wow,
the
I
time
didn't know
was
that you played
4,
piano.
Yeah,
Huh.
from the time I was
Dope.
4 till today. Did that most of the time. Picked up guitar and bass a little bit, but I started playing with friends around town. Started a band. It was like metal and hardcore stuff, and that was really great. We put out an album. We were doing the thing just like everybody else, but the music scene in New Jersey wasn't super fruitful. A lot of it was pay to play. A lot of it was really
Pay to play, even with
yeah.
like no outcome, just like
yeah. So like basically they would
that's
say
taking advantage of musicians. We don't like that.
they would basically say, we'll give you this many tickets. You have to sell this many tickets, and if you don't, you owe us this amount of money.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And
it's a crappy way for the
Yeah.
it
industry
was
to
a horrible
function.
business model, and I
And you're
was
not
like,
thankful. Like I believe it's a privilege to get music. And
Yeah,
my opinion.
100%.
Like it's a privilege.
But places like that need to make their money, and there's not enough of a scene around there for them to do that, naturally.
yeah.
So I had enough of that, and some things happened with the band that weren't so great, and I was just like, I'm gonna move down to Nashville and pursue bass as my full-time thing, because there's more of a demand for bass players than there is for piano players.
True.
And here we are.
So is it like a breath of fresh air too to like get here and be like, wait, you'll pay me to play music?
It is a breath of fresh air. It's also
And you have
extremely
people come?
intimidating,
Yeah,
because everybody
somebody's
else does
talented.
it, and everybody else is so amazing at it. It kind of makes you realize, when you're coming from, small town New Jersey and moving to Nashville where everybody's a star, it's like you really need to get your ass in gear and start
And me and Jenna have talked about this a lot about Nashville. That's something that makes it so great. I'm born and raised here. Jenna's been here for a little bit too, and she's already kind of gotten a feel because she's been in the music scene the whole time. Everybody is someone here, so like that's why I feel like everyone here who meets someone is so humble, because it's like, oh, dude, someone you meet, that's probably someone. But you know, everyone's someone, so it's like everyone here has a way where they treat everyone equal, because it's like that's like a habit you form. It's like, make sure you treat everyone the same. No one's better than anyone. Everyone's doing something, and
respect.
And everyone's talented, even if they only have like I've seen people who only have like 200 followers. I'm like, dude, this is the best artist I've heard.
Yeah, you never know.
All year.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that's so important in Nashville, and I feel like that's where we're changing the music community.
It's funny because it's similar to where I came from, which is wine country. Sonoma County, you never knew who, if you were talking to a winemaker or wine owner or whatever, if you're working in the event industry, that's important information. And so you just have to stay on a level of like, I could be talking to anybody right now.
Sure.
And it's sort of the same way here.
It
It's a little bit
humbles
less
you.
pressure because in the event industry, it's a little bit more about like, you have to put on a show for it. But here it's so genuinely, you just have to assume that whoever you're talking to is like the best in their field.
I see everyone as
the way
me,
someone
so.
put it to me that was a higher up in the industry, it's like when you boil it down throughout the whole industry, not the big three, right? LA, Nashville, New York. It's really only about a couple hundred people because everyone in some form or fashion knows each other.
Yeah, you're like
You know what I
one
mean?
degree of separation.
And
away
talent
from
doesn't
that
equal
person.
to success. I always tell people that I'm like, you know, there are people who success doesn't mean, or success and fame don't equal. Like, there might be super famous people, but that doesn't always mean that they're successful. And there are super successful people that we probably never even heard of.
There's a lot
So
of
it's,
those.
yeah, so it's like those two don't
A lot
equate.
more.
So it's like there's such a depth to humanity that I feel that that's why you should develop the habit to just treat everybody equally.
Yeah,
And everyone should be like that. So I guess back to what you're doing, so we don't get off track and start talking like philosophy, which we could do for hours. This is what we do in our private time anyways. Jacob, tell them about your music background. What all do you play?
Okay. Yeah, so basically I've always been around music, even just from like a young age. Growing up, I remember, you know, my mom was a singer, my dad was in music, you know, was a songwriter here. And it was kind of one of those things, it was just like I was birthed into a musical family. So it was, grew up listening to everything from my mom's side of music, like more country, like to even like classic rock. My dad was like old school outlaw country music and stuff like that. And then about the 3rd grade, I fell into rap and was going in the 3rd grade to my elementary school, and they had this little gang of dudes, and we would sit on the floor and make beats with pencils.
Oh my God,
And I
that's
would
why I
start,
rapped
like,
for you,
there
because
you
I
go.
rapped for him. And
That's
Jacob was
it.
like, Michelle, I honestly think that your rap voice
like you
is
got a
like
pen.
better than your singing voice. I was like, get out of here. But he can rap. You can
It's
spit.
fun. And that's
You
how I
do
kind of
flow.
got into
You
it.
flow,
It
yeah.
was like one of those things, like I just was doing it and fell in love with it.
Freestyles like a motherfucker.
And then I grew out of that and then more into like music. So I never really like messed with it or even thought about doing music. Like just never came across my radar as something I want to pursue. My mom still says to this day, like when I was in the 3rd grade, I'd come home, what do you want to be when you grow up, Jacob? I want to be a rapper. I want to be like Eminem. Well, obviously that didn't happen. Instead, I sing rock and roll now, which I'm totally okay with. But
But you throw those inflections.
Yeah,
in.
I was gonna say,
absolutely.
you got,
There's
you
things
can
in
do
there that I add
Hey,
to
That's
my
unique.
sound.
You
Yeah.
can do both. Have you heard, like, I mean, for example, like, I guess this is like a generic example, but Linkin Park. I mean, that's
Oh,
the thing
yeah.
that I feel like with music and everything really in general is like, especially now we're starting to realize, like, people are like, oh, I don't know if I can do both. It's like, actually,
No, you really can.
you totally
both
can,
and
because
more.
there are so many
Yeah.
artists I've heard that they combine like multiple
Mhm.
genres into one, and also they just do like
Yeah.
different things.
It's a beautiful thing about the music industry right now is that there is a lot of genre meshing
There
going
is.
on.
so
And
many
putting
sounds
together-
that you couldn't
And
even
crazy.
list them
it's,
all.
it makes
Yeah.
things really
It's
confusing
really
when you're trying to
crazy.
describe something, but it's very pleasurable to listen
That's why I hate that
Absolutely.
question. What is your genre?
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's
you
hard
can't really
to
say
impossible
that.
to nail
define
down to
that.
just one.
So what
Yeah.
about you? What's your musical journey to getting up to this point? What do you play besides guitar?
Guitar mainly. I started off as a drummer for about 6 years.
Nice,
A little
nice.
bit of keys, bass, little BGV, vocal stuff. My first initial instance that really wanted me to do music was when I joined my school's band in 5th grade. I saw some guy like playing drums, right, like a marching stare. I'm like, I want to do that.
Band geek
Like,
here
I don't
too.
want to like play a sax. Like, I want to actually do the cool stuff, right? You know, not to sound biased, but
Sax players there are like, welp.
But
I'm done.
I do.
Well,
I,
but
I,
to
I
be
have- I
fair,
have a great
throws his
respect
trash.
for
Any
horn
band that
players,
has
you
a sax player is probably the coolest band you know.
Absolutely.
Probably
Yeah.
true. Probably
Yeah.
true.
Listen to what she's saying.
know. Definitely know
Every time
this.
I've
Like
seen
this
one.
for
Shout
me,
out to
I was-
Sterling, my fave sax player ever.
I was more naturally drawn to the drums first, and then we had a music store. It's no longer in business, called Mars, back in Birmingham. You know, like the wall of guitars. You know, like
Oh.
it's like the Holy Grail, right?
Mhm.
It's like they had like this clear crystalline Strat-shaped guitar that I went and picked up, played. Got yelled at by like the store owners, like, you don't need to be playing that. You're like
Worth
a kid.
it.
Like, okay, dude, go away. Like that moment
Shoe
stuck with me.
fly.
and it's
Yell
like-
rape.
Yeah, and it's like that kind of got me going with it. I taught myself up until college. Then I studied jazz, classical a little bit, and it's kind of it. You know, played through bands till high school, church bands, garage bands.
Nice. So you
Yeah.
guys have all kind of been musical.
Yeah.
So I have a question then, like, and you guys have all kind of touched on this a little bit, but what's your most obscure influence that then shows up in your music? So now we can't say rap because we've already discussed that. So maybe there's something else, or just it doesn't have to be the most obscure, but just something that's really that
Out of the
doesn't make
ordinary,
sense, but
yeah.
it does show up in your final product in places. Whether that's your performance.
Mine's
or,
opera for me. Like I've written songs. There's moments where it's like, oh, and the song I'm like, huh,
Right.
gotta love opera.
Hell
I
yeah.
gotta think. That's like really philosophical.
That is.
Yeah, it is.
Oh man, you
Obscure-
just feel
obscurity.
it.
I would
Um,
say like. Are you want to go?
No. I'm
I
a
mean,
thinker.
if you're thinking, I would
You
say
wanna
kind of
pop
like
bottle.
I've always had this like thing for like Appalachian country music. Like Ralph Stanley, like
That is very
"Oh,
specific."
Death, oh death, won't you spare me over till another year? Like that type
Kinda
of stuff.
like,
I love that kind of
The
stuff.
what's the movie with George Clooney? We talked about this with Dustin.
Oh, Brother, Where Art
Oh,
Thou?
Brother, Where Art
Yeah,
Thou?
like
that
kind of
influence.
stuff. Like I love, besides like rap and stuff, like old country. And it didn't hit me when I was at a younger age, but as I've gotten older, I've fallen more and more in love with it, and I see how much the songwriting in it inspires me now as a songwriter.
That's beautiful. So you guys would notice too. We're also pouring another bottle of
sure.
wine.
Cab.
I will say a little bit about this cab because I've had this cab a few times. You know, once again, sponsored by City Winery. This cab, it has like rich tones of mocha and cherry, and it's really good for a broad palate. I don't usually like cabs as much. I'm a Pinot Noir kind of person, but I love this
Yeah,
cab.
that one-
so
this is a really nice one.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
So here's
Jacob
to another.
approved.
Yeah, it's Jacob. So let's veer off track a little bit. We want to have you guys do what we have a lot of artists do, which is give some ASMR to our viewers, so they can kind of feel what it sounds like. So you want to take a bite and taste this with
Did
the
we
wine.
finish answering the
and
question?
tell-
now?
oh yeah,
Well,
yeah.
They can do
Yeah.
the ASMR while they're thinking about
As
Yeah,
we
do it.
answer
Yeah,
this,
Jacob, do.
but-
Yeah. So
So,
you're next, or whoever wants
I
to
mean,
go
I
next.
think, gosh, I mean, how even really define obscurity, right? It's like, as an artist, right, you want to do something that's original, but it's impossible to not have your influences become embodied in both your musical performance and your bodily movements.
Wow,
on
you really
stage.
were an assistant professor.
Yeah.
Um,
He really was.
It's impossible to not know
Professor
that.
Cody is what we call him.
But it's like, I draw my inspirations. Obviously, you can hear Guns N' Roses in my playing.
Oh.
Hands down one of my favorites. But then also a lot of like ethereal playing from like David Gilmour, Pink Floyd, that lush,
Yep.
ambient, just soul moving solos like Uncomfortably Numb. Love all that stuff. And you can just stay still on a stage and that affects me. But you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of just I have that always in my subconscious when I'm playing. And like it comes out whether I know it or want it to or not.
Well, before you eat that chip, get in front of that mic and eat it, and then Chris is going to
Oh,
answer
yeah.
our
So that's
question.
my answer.
I like that
don't know
answer.
how
I
That's a
like
good
it.
answer.
Yeah.
That's definitely he's a
It
professor's
actually
assistant.
blends pretty well.
You
with
gotta
the
do it. You
salsa
gotta
and
do it
chips.
right in the mic. Yeah. And how do you like it with the wine? Because we're also kind of.
It's good. I mean,
Am I
I
doing this
love
right?
cab.
Just
That's
get
all I
close and-
drink. So like any type of cab with any type of
Our
food,
viewers
like I'll drink.
Are just sitting.
But
here,
it's
like,
good. It
probably
actually
drunk with us.
complements the salsa, not in a bad way.
So Chris,
Yeah.
what about you? What kind of influences like
Well, the
when she
blackberries, I think,
asked
too.
them in your
mean,
music?
None of them are all that obscure, really. I mean, if you listen to our music, you can, I feel like, pretty clearly pick out
Yeah.
a lot of what our influences are. For me personally, I pull a lot from Bruce Springsteen. I pull a lot from Chili Peppers. I pull a lot from Muse.
I love Muse.
That's a great combination of like just kind of like
Yeah.
all
All
across
over
the
the
board,
spectrum,
but it
yeah.
really is
Yeah.
representative of the music too.
That you guys
Yeah.
make.
Like when you hear that and then you think about the music, it makes sense.
So I have a question. So obviously I'm like, I have a question. Like, that's not what we're here to freaking do or anything. So when we just mentioned Oh Brother Where Art Thou, that was kind of like the influence. Which Justin talked to us a little bit about that. Remember him and Josh are saying that was like their favorite movie, which you guys are all friends. What is a movie all of you were influenced by growing up? Because as you know, I'm a film buff.
Right.
And I'm a screenwriter. What is a movie that, not your favorite movie, but a movie that you remember that you're like, this really influenced me growing up as a person?
From what perspective?
That's a good question.
Like,
Any
scare the shit out of
Any,
me, or?
that kind of changed how you operate as a person, you know, like your views and whatnot.
Okay, yeah.
Like, so what about you, Jacob? Go ahead and.
I mean, I would honestly say Brother Wow Art There. I remember seeing that, you know, when I was really younger with my mom, and that movie spoke a lot to me about, like, second chances and just, like, you know, really, like, chasing a dream and how it's feasible to make a dream come true. And it really spoke a lot to me just from a perspective of, like, you know, like, my religious beliefs and stuff like that. You know, just seeing that and how that impacted, like, my moralities and certain things growing up, you know, just to, I guess, be able to kind of define me for, like, you know, even necessarily, like, what I believe and, like, not wanting to give up on a passion or a dream.
That's beautiful. What about you, Chris?
Come back to me.
I was thinking, I'm just gonna say, I mean, Jaws was my favorite movie as a kid.
Wait, no, which one? 1, 2, 3.
Of course, the original,
Okay,
1976, the one that, you know, 2 weeks before it came out that issue. I know all about it. But that aside, on a more serious note, when I first saw Blow with Johnny Depp,
That was a great movie, yes.
one of my favorite movies, right?
Yeah.
But it's like the quote, and I've got this on my Facebook. It's one of my favorites of all time. It's like, you know, life passes most people by while they're making grand plans for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and, like,
Yeah.
when you really think about that, it's like we're constantly moving, doing all these things, trying to get somewhere, doing these things, pursuing something, and it's like it's gonna pass you by if you don't, you know, like if you're constantly wanting to strive to do something. It's good to do that, but you have to grasp that mentality
Yeah, that's
and live in the moment.
You're so
so
philosophical. I love
interesting
it.
too, because it's like you can also plan and you
Yeah,
can
I
even
mean,
be in the moment with your
sure,
plan, and
absolutely.
it can all fall
Can
through at any
can
moment.
fall through. What about
So-
you?
I'll be honest with you. I don't really have any movies off the cuff that have like shaped my personality in any way or another.
Or you just can't think about it.
What about Lightning the Mood? What's a movie that scared the shit out of you as a kid?
Land Before Time scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Literally, like any horror movie. Period.
Well, I'll tell you one of mine, and this is
I don't
a.
like scary movies.
I don't
dude.
like scary movies at all.
Oh, really? Okay, so this is a weird one, but this one, and me and Jen will answer too, because we like to answer the question sometimes. One that shaped me, which I don't know if you guys are with Westerns, but The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh my God, yes.
That movie
Fantastic.
kind of, when I was a younger kid, Westerns were all the adults around me would watch. That and like Dukes of Hazzard and stuff.
Dukes of Hazzard.
And like Three Stooges, like older stuff. So when I watch
Yeah.
Westerns, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is still a movie I go back to this day, and I'm like, there's a lot of life lessons in that movie. You know, and like, so yeah, that's one for me. What about you, Jenna? What's one not your favorite? Because if you guys have been watching, you kind of kept up with
Right,
us.
it'd be old news if I repeat.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll say it for anybody who hasn't seen. My favorite movie ever is Almost Famous, and it influenced me in all the ways, brought me where I am. But
That's a good one, too.
I would say another one would be Dirty Dancing.
Oh, classic.
I love
That
that.
good.
that movie
Yeah.
definitely shaped
That's
my
so
life.
good.
For
That's
sure.
so good. I just met a guy that actually does pottery in real life, and I was like, can we have like a ghost moment? Like, yeah, okay, so we don't have a lot of time left. We're going to be wrapping up soon so they can do what they do best and put on a performance for us. So let's kind of get a little more weird. You know, all of us are into a lot of.
It's like Workaholics. It's weird.
Let's get weird. Oh, you like Workaholics, dude? Have you heard of their new podcast, Pod Important?
No.
Oh my God! So they talk about the most random kind of stuff. Like it's literally like anything you can think of. But they also have a new movie coming. I don't know why I'm promoting this right now. Anyways, so yeah. So let's get kind of weird and talk about some stuff. So when it comes to you guys, a lot of you are very philosophical and deep on certain levels. That's something I've noticed that is in correlation with all of you. What is a philosophy that you live by? And it might be a quote, it might be an action, but what is something that to your core you're like, this is kind of like my motto, it's my mantra. Like for me, mine is like life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And I tell myself that daily, you know, which like I say this freaking every time I interview somebody. But that's for me, and that's something like I'll be reminding myself and pushing myself. What is something you say to yourself that you like kind of push yourself? And you can start with you, Chris. You look kind of eager to answer.
Not even a little
No?
eager to answer.
He's like, this is another one I can't answer. Okay,
No,
Jacob.
but I will answer it.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, my kind of life philosophy is very simple. It's kind of, treat people the way you want to be treated. Put all of the energy that you want out into the world to get what you want out of the world. So, use your mind to create a better space for yourself and for others to exist.
So basically, kind of when you're in your pinch, you're talking to yourself. You're like, give what you receive, give what you receive, give what you receive.
Yeah, because if you're expecting all these grand things out of life and you're not putting the energy in to get those things that you want, then you can't expect that those things are going to come back to you.
And you have to remind yourself that too when you're not wanting to do anything and you're feeling down. You're like, well, if I'm going to get what I want, I got to get what I want and get what I receive.
Well, I feel like that's also very relevant to the music industry. Like, I mean, it's relevant in life in general in every single aspect,
But
every single
specifically,
industry,
like-
but really in the music industry, that's very, very true.
Well, the work you put in. What about you, Jacob?
Oh man, I would say like if I'm going back into it, like not religious at all, but just like actually it's from the Bible. It's a verse in there that like I just remember reading one time and it kind of just adapted to me and like I really just apply it to a lot of places in my life. But the verse is the words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the words of the upright will deliver them. And so like I kind of applied that to my life and I was like, hold on, I started thinking about it. I'm like, no matter what kind of situation, let's just say that I got in a car wreck. Oh, man, my car is freaking totaled. I'm not like, oh, this is all crap. Nothing good's going to happen from this. Versus, okay, got in a car wreck, my mindset, the words I'm speaking, because the words we speak over ourselves in every situation. Just think about it. Like, if you sit there and you say, this is hard to run, what does that make in your mind think? It's making your mind think, oh, this is going to be hard for me to do versus I can do this. I can push through it. I will persevere through this run. I'm going to get this mile done. You're pushing yourself to do something better. And I think that applies with every aspect of life. Relationships to people we come in contact with on a daily basis, just problems we go through. What you speak over your life is what you're going to put
And your
in
mind's
life.
your weapon, too. Like, I recently saw this video that was on Instagram. It was like, oh, good if, and it was someone climbing a mountain, and beside them was a monk that was, like, walking up it. And it was like, dude, mindset is everything. And it's really true because people don't understand, like, you can convince your mind. I saw this study where this woman convinced her mind she was pregnant. Like, she truly, truly believed. You can look this up. It's a real article. And she started showing symptoms of being pregnant.
I believe it.
And it was like she got bloated, and her body did everything it thought that a pregnant person would do without producing the embryo. Because your mind is literally that powerful. And I mean, we're only getting more powerful as we, go into the ages.
And perspective really is everything
It
because
is.
you
Means
can
a
be
lot.
given. You can be given any situation, and it
perspective.
can be a gift, or it can be it can tear you down. And really, every person can take something different from it, and that's just about perspective and the way that they're. Yeah, exactly. If you are looking for the beauty, you will find the beauty.
You
So.
will. And if you're looking for the ugly, you'll find the ugly. What about you? What's a philosophy you live by? And I think this is going to be a good one.
I mean, again, I know Chris kind of touched on, the golden rule aspect. And it's like, even, I'm kind of a movie buff, a show buff. Think about The Sopranos, right? Tony Soprano, gangster. One of his PIs he used when he died in the show, he was talking to a lady that said, well, he said to me one time, well, at least with Tony Soprano, you know where you stand with him. You get what you get. And it's like, again, with me, you get what you get. Like, if you treat people right, you do right, that's going to come back to you, and that's going to be honored in any situation.
Yeah.
If you're real, you get what you get. There's nothing to hide. Everything's there. That's just the way to be.
Yeah.
And it comes back to stuff like that. Like, I realize it too, because I mean, we all know we've been in a situation when we've done something we shouldn't have done, or any situation where we're like, that's probably a bad thing to do. I've been in a situation where I was like, oh my gosh, that thing I did just came back to me. Like, it came back on me.
Yeah.
At that time, it didn't come back, and I was like, so that's when you're like, okay. It's not even that you're doing anything for the gist of like, oh, I want to do it for good, or I want to get some reason, but it's like, okay, I now know how this game works.
Yep.
If I do something like this, whether it feels good in that moment, it is going to come back, and I know it'll come back because my truest self is a good person, and it's going to reject all these bad things, even if it means it's like delayed. It's like delayed a few
and
months.
the more real you are, the less the delay is.
Exactly.
The delay
It
of the
could be in a
rewards.
few-
Like if you're
so true.
just real with the people around you, with the situations that you're in,
that goes
reality
for good karma
it doesn't
too.
have so much to sift through.
That
It's
goes
going to
for good
happen then,
karma
and then you
too.
can deal with
Yeah.
it, or you can receive the
Yeah, it's
rewards,
like,
or whatever it is, and you can get on with your life, or you can develop relationships, or whatever it is. The more real you are,
Do good for the sake of
Just
Good.
don't need to do it for like attention or anything. And I think
Yeah.
that's something a lot of people need to realize, just do it just to do it. Because like to me, I'm like, the universe is always watching. So even when I'm alone, I'm like, the universe, but I don't think of it that way. Anyways, without getting into too much weird, more philosophical stuff like we are.
Philosophy.
So yeah, we want to thank our friends again at City Winery. Just a reminder, City Winery, like we said, is a functioning restaurant. They have private parties available, like over 100 seats. They're amazing. They support the music community. Unlike anyone else, they've supported us from the start. So, but we are going to set up real quick and let our birthday boy, who it's also Gerard's birthday, so wish him a happy
Yes.
birthday.
Happy
One of our
birthday,
the founder
Gerard.
of the Underground Music Collective. We're going to get set up real quick, and we will see you guys later. We're going to let them perform. So, yeah. It's been fun, guys.
Do one, two, like, okay. 1, 2, 3.
What's up, guys? We are the Blue Trees, and we're gonna be picking a couple songs for you guys. This first one's called Alabama Baby. Alabama baby makes my mind go crazy, driving me mad. Hope someone can save me. I hope to God it's not too late. She got me eating out a dinner plate. Dang, bada bang, she's my Alabama baby. Love so good, she drives me crazy. Give me that homegrown sweet tea loving. Dang, bada bang, she's my Alabama baby. She's my Alabama baby. Louisiana born with Alabama raised. Swamp queen bred, you can tell by her braids. She a bad little mama with a fried chicken bite. Love so good it'll fix you right. Dang, bada bang, she's my Alabama baby. Love so good she drives me crazy. Give me that homegrown sweet tea loving. Dang, bada bang, she's my Alabama baby. She's my Alabama Drop it like it's hot, get on down, my Alabama baby. Drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot, get on down, my Alabama baby. Dang by the banks, my Alabama baby. Love so good, she drives me crazy. Give me that homegrown sweet tea loving. Dang by the banks, my Alabama baby. She's my Alabama baby. She's my Alabama baby. Oh yeah. She's my baby. She's my baby. She's my Alabama baby. Woo. This next one we got for you guys is a new original. We haven't even released or anything yet. It's called Sleepwalking. I know it's never really gonna be a Cinderella story, and I heard you were breaking down today. It's all good when you see the light, but girl, how love can go and take you for a wild ride. Now you're just breaking down. Well, I'm moving like a shadow in the dark, waiting on you to be my spark. And oh, I keep dreaming, or am I just sleepwalking tonight? And I'm falling like tears on your face, waiting on you to give me faith. And oh, I keep dreaming, that I wrote you a love song, wrote you a love song. Well, it's crazy how the world can change. Life tends to spit you out all over again. The words flowed from the games we played, but then you turn around and had to spit back hate. And when you're looking on the bright side of the moon, I hope it looks a little bit like me. And I can never express the thoughts I'm thinking, cause another feeling gone when I'm singing. And I'm moving like a shadow in the dark, waiting on you to be my spark. And oh, I keep dreaming, or am I just sleepwalking tonight? And I'm falling like tears on your face, waiting on you to give me faith. And oh, I keep dreaming, that I wrote you a love song, wrote you a love song. XOSOS, it's hurting you, but it's laying me to rest. XOSOS, it's hurting you, but it's laying me to rest. And I'm moving like a shadow in the dark, waiting on you to be my spark. And oh, I keep dreaming, or am I just sleepwalking? And I'm falling like the tears on your face, waiting on you to give me faith. And oh, I keep dreaming, that I wrote you a love song, that I wrote you a love song. Sleepwalking, baby, that I wrote you a love song. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Cool.
Hey, guy.